We made a reforecast earlier this week. We have a pessimistic and an optimistic scenario. In the optimistic scenario, we expect some pickup during the northern summer. In the pessimistic scenario, we don't really expect a pickup until later in the year. And I guess the Qantas date sort of sits between those two. So, but to be very honest, no one really knows. It's a government decision at the end of the day in conjunction with health authorities. We certainly hope it does happen sooner rather than later, because airlines right now are under tremendous financial pressure. We're looking for additional subsidy from governments around the world. So the sooner we can get restarted into international travel, frankly, the better.
So, Conrad, within this region, which countries are likely to be the first to open up?
So we were really hoping that there would be an opening of a travel bubble before the end of last year between Singapore and Hong Kong. It was announced, bookings were taken, but then unfortunately there was a second spike in Hong Kong, so it had to be dropped. But I would say that it's very difficult to say at the moment, but there are obviously a number of countries where transmissions are coming down and travel bubbles are a possibility. And so we're still hoping that we'll see maybe a restart of that Hong Kong, Singapore, or between other countries of similar levels of transmission fairly soon. So
which travel bubbles do you think might be likely for Australia?
That again is very, very difficult to say. I mean, the one that's most obvious, I'm sure will be on everybody's thoughts, would be Trans-Tasman. It would make a lot of sense. And as Australia and New Zealand start to come together in terms of transmissions, it's a very logical choice. But of course, it really does depend on the way that vaccination plays out in both countries. And vulnerable populations need to be vaccinated and protected first, and then we can start to look at reopening.
How will policies and requirements for travel during the pandemic to keep everyone safe be decided? Will it be coordinated at the international level, or will airlines decide, for example?
It's very much a government decision, and of course it's government working in close coordination with their health authorities. So in that respect, bodies like the World Health Organization are very, very important. And on the airline side, we've been working closely with governments, with WHO, and what we really want to see is what we call roadmaps, where governments and health authorities can give us ideas about how they expect the restart of aviation to occur, and then we can make sure that we're properly prepared for that so that we can restart aviation safely as early as possible.
Well, IATA has proposed a travel pass app as a potential answer to help restart all of that. How would this work?
So we historically have provided information on visa requirements through something called thematic. It's invisible to most people, but it sits behind a lot of airline applications. And really what we've done is we've taken that visa application and extended it into health verification. It's a very logical extension. And really it's a digital approach, so it's more efficient, it's safer, it's more secure. And it should give governments the confidence to restart, knowing about the actual status of passengers. And for passengers, it will include information on where they can be tested, how they can be tested, what regulation is. So it will help passengers as well.
Will it help travellers avoid having to quarantine when they return home if they've been overseas?
That will still be a government decision. And we're hoping that as vaccination becomes more widespread, that there may be the opportunity to say that people who've been vaccinated don't have to be quarantined. But at the moment, the science isn't there. We're hoping the science will come through to support that. And if it does, that would be a fantastic outcome. We have the first pilot launching here in Singapore, actually, in March. And we expect that by April, May, it'll be scalable for a broader rollout. We're working with a number of other airlines around the world to do this. But of course, all of these things ultimately depend on government. Airlines are the ones that have to check and make sure that people are qualified to fly and provide that to government. And this app enables that information to be held in a way that passengers can share it with government authorities, authorities can see it, and it will facilitate the whole travel process.
What complications might there be in implementing such a massive program, coordinating so many countries and so many airlines, and of course the passengers themselves?
I don't think, I mean, the main thing for us is to try to standardize the approach. We don't think that this will be the only solution. We think there will be other solutions as well. But we would like all of the solutions to follow the same framework and standard so that we don't have 190 different versions of health regulation. And for example, the WHO has been coming out with standardization of vaccine certification. That's a really important thing. If we can have one standard certification globally, it makes everything much easier and it makes the whole system safer as well.
So Conrad, what will international travel look like once we start to resume again compared to 2 years ago, say?
Well, there'll be a lot more measures to protect everybody's health through the whole process. So when you check in, when you process through the airport, we're looking for a contactless process to try and minimize any chance of transmission. We're doing a lot of extra work in terms of deep cleaning aircraft, making sure that people have as little interaction with one another on board aircraft. So there'll be a lot of health measures in place. We're really hoping that by 2023, 2024, we can get back to the same levels as 2019. And then people can really start to enjoy travelling again.
That would be nice. I'm going to take the optimistic view. Conrad Clifford, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.